Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the 5 things that you need to know about this full moon in Leo happening on February 16th, 2022. But I do want to know, what are some other things that you think others need to know about this full moon happening? I will be talking about 5, but of course I'm sure there are many more things to know. So yeah, let us know in the comment section down below. And I also want to mention before I do dive into this video today, and that is that you can probably tell from my voice that I'm quite unwell. I have been unwell for the past few days, from about my birthday. Yay me. Yeah, I turned 30 on the 8th of February and I started to get quite sick. So please excuse my voice, and this is also why this full moon video is slightly later than planned. But here we are. So with that being said, let's do this. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about this full moon in Leo happening on the 16th of February 2022 is that the full moon in Leo will oppose the sun in Aquarius at 27 degrees, creating the number 9 in numerological terms. So here we are with another 27 degree full moon, another number 9 full moon, 9 representing things like completion, spirituality, transformation, compassion, empathy, wisdom, and letting go. Which again, this can go hand in hand with the full moon because full moons represent similar things. It's a time to breathe out and to shed old skin with the intention of embracing new beginnings. And so therefore, with the full moon being in Leo, we're really shining a light on things like love, approval, attention, ego, self-expression, warmth, generosity, strength, and confidence. I must admit, Leo energy is a very challenging energy for me because as someone with Leo in my 12th house, along with Chiron in Leo, and Saturn conjunct my sun in Aquarius, I have found it relatively difficult to accept who I am in all my difference. I have often felt conflicted when it comes to self-acceptance, when it comes to self-approval. I have seen myself as the weirdo, as the freak, as the outsider, as the one who feels misunderstood, as the one who really just sits on the sidelines, looking in at situations rather than involving myself. So throughout my life, I have distanced myself from others, but at the same time, I am learning lessons in association with these things. I don't want to get into too much detail in this respect, but throughout the past few years especially, I've been learning a great deal when it comes to these things. Now, thankfully, I have found people in my life, people within my close relationships who accept me, but at the same time, people in my life who show me that the only person who needs to approve of me is me. Now, that statement may sound highly egotistic and selfish, but I think the whole point of this statement is that I don't have to depend on others to approve of me or to give me constant validation. The validation ultimately should come from myself. If people think I'm a freak or if they think I'm a weirdo, then that's their thing, right? So be it. That is up to them. That's their view, that's their judgment, that's their opinion. That is their opinion, but it doesn't have to be my opinion. They're entitled to their opinion, but I'm also entitled to my opinion. And so therefore, when it comes to this full moon in Leo, consider self-validation, okay? This is the point that I'm trying to get to. Consider how you approve of yourself. Likewise, consider your authenticity rather than falling into traps that tell you you must change who you are in order to gain other people's approval. You must show off in front of others so you can impress them, so they can give you compliments. yes, it's great to receive compliments. It's also great to be validated by other people. It's great to feel seen. But if these things are not coming from yourself, you might be severely disappointed. Often we can conform to what the rest of society is doing, what the trends are, what's in fashion, what's the it thing. So what is the it thing to do? But what if we stop for a moment and we start to ask ourselves, what do I want to do? Am I following this trend because others say it's cool or because it's popular? Or is this something I actually like, that I genuinely like and that I'm genuinely interested in? Maybe you like a certain piece of clothing, for example, but you don't wear it because you think, oh, well, this isn't in fashion anymore. People will think I'm unfashionable if I wear it. And so you don't wear it. But why? Why do you not wear it? Is it then because you are fearful of the opinions and judgments that you receive from other people? Are you placing your validation in the hands of others? So it's their responsibility to validate you than for you to validate yourself. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking at a piece of clothing and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to wear this because it's so different and everyone will look at me and give me attention and they will see how different and unique I am, this may also be considered as you trying to gain other people's approval. Perhaps you're forcing difference because you want to be seen by others. You want them to see how much you stand out from the crowd. But again, this approach is about others as well. So do you see maybe how this goes? Do you see how often we want validation from our peers and from our friends and from our colleagues, etc.? I do think that this is also at the same time, it's a completely natural thing. I think it's part of human nature to want to be accepted by our society and by our peers, by our friends, by our colleagues, by our partners, by our parents, by our children. But to what extent is it natural? Maybe, for example, you're 15 and you want your crush to notice you, and so you go out of your way to grab their attention. Okay, I get that. But maybe you're 35 with a huge house, with a fancy sports car, a marriage, and you post these things all over your social media, and now you're grabbing millions of people's attention. Is that natural? Is that healthy? Is that what we as a society should aspire to? Is that what we should aim for? Now, at the same time, it's our choice to express ourselves in whatever way we choose, okay? But the point I'm trying to get to is, what is the intention? So, questioning our individuality in relation to the collective's opinions and views. Take the social media personality that I just mentioned a moment ago, looking at that example. What if they don't want a huge house anymore? Or what if they want to step away from the spotlight, but they remain in that situation because they feel like they have to, they feel like they need to. They need that approval from society, or they need that big house to continue impressing others. And so they stay in that situation willingly without actually considering, what do I want? But not even what do I want, what do I need? Therefore, during this full moon in Leo, consider the I, consider the me, consider your individuality. Shine a light on your authenticity. And if you gotta tie up some loose ends, this full moon is a time to do it. Let go of the old and embrace the new. And be gentle, be kind to yourself. And if you're living a life based on other people's approval constantly, well, this may be a good time to release, to let go, to shed old skin. So let's say, for example, this full moon is taking place in your 4th house. So looking at you Taurus, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps during this period, you consider your individuality when it comes to your family life or when it comes to your living situation. Maybe you shine a light on your authenticity when it comes to these matters. Or maybe you find the strength to move out or to do what you like, regardless of what your family thinks. Perhaps you let go of the idea that you need to be accepted by your family. Or maybe you realize that the only person who needs to approve of your emotions is you. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 12th house, so looking at you, Virgo, sun, moon, and risings. Perhaps during this period, you consider your individuality when it comes to your spirituality views, when it comes to your beliefs in a higher power. You shine a light on what you believe deep down rather than being approved by others for what you believe. Or maybe you shine a light on your authenticity that often feels hidden from others. Perhaps you like being creative when you're alone, for example, and nobody will truly understand this enjoyment of yours quite like you do. Maybe being a loner comes natural to you and you actually like that about yourself. Or perhaps you let go of the notion that you aren't confident because you are a bit quieter. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 8th house, okay? So looking at you, Capricorn, sun, moon, and risings. Perhaps during this period you consider your individuality when it comes to your sexuality. Perhaps you shine a light on your darkest sexual desires and you think, I enjoy the thought of these things and it would be great to explore them, to explore these desires with my partner if they enjoy the thought of them as well. Or if you don't have a partner, then just enjoying them on your own. Or maybe you consider your authenticity when it comes to vulnerability. So when you are vulnerable, that shows strength on your part. And it's not about other people approving of you for being vulnerable. You do it because you feel it. Or maybe you shed old skin when it comes to intimacy or when it comes to emotional bonding. Okay, so after that very, very long first thing you need to know, the second thing you need to know about this full moon in Leo is that both the moon in Leo and the sun in Aquarius will square the north node in Taurus. Now, with the north node being in Taurus, we have been moving towards things like self-worth, comfort, security, reliability, and commitment. But we have also been easing up on qualities like destruction, chaos, suspicion, inner turmoil, defensiveness, manipulation, secrecy, emotional intensity, and vengefulness. But with these squares and with these oppositions happening between these 4 fixed signs, so there's a big grand cross going on here. So with these squares and oppositions happening between these 4 very stubborn signs, there seems to be tension occurring. Tensions when it comes to the individual versus the collective, when it comes to validation versus uniqueness, when it comes to following the crowd versus standing out from the crowd. But at the same time, it's these things also being challenged by self-worth and by inner turmoil. I mean, how does one truly illustrate their authenticity if they feel trapped by their own emotional stress, by their own emotional inner turmoil? How does one step out and do what they want because they enjoy it if they were conditioned to be afraid of other people's opinions? How do you as an individual, how do you express yourself if you are fearful of being rejected, shunned, ridiculed, or tortured for doing so? I guess self-approval isn't so black and white. And besides, how do we know when we are doing things to impress others and when we are doing things because we genuinely like them? Is there perhaps something psychological going on? Maybe. Then again, perhaps true authenticity is shown when we do what we love despite the ridicule, despite the rejection. Still, however, during this full moon, perhaps these themes come up. Perhaps we question our emotional resilience and inner strength, and we question our self-worth and inner security. We question our inner toughness in response to other people's acceptance. When someone insults you, for example, how do you feel? Do you let their comment or their judgment ruin your entire day? Do you then start to question your worthiness, your self-worth? Or do you brush it off and not let it impact you because you don't care, because your self-worth is not dependent on other people's views and other people's judgments. Though on the other hand, when someone pays you a compliment, does that fuel you for the rest of the day? Does it control how you behave? Or do you appreciate the compliment and then get on with your day? It is interesting because when someone disapproves of us, we often see that as us being all bad. If someone doesn't like what we do, they must dislike us as a person. But if they like something we do, they must like us as a person. But what if there was something in between? What if we could see there are things we like and there are things that we dislike in others and ourselves? But that doesn't mean as a whole we are likable and dislikable. So let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your second house. So looking at you Cancer, Sun, Moon and Risings. It means that the Sun is transiting your 8th house and the North Node and the South Node are transiting your 11th and 5th houses. Perhaps during this period you consider your individuality when it comes to your finances, so looking at how you spend your money or looking at your attitudes towards money. But maybe these things, they clash with your friends' views. They might clash with what the group thinks. But rather than letting these things consume you, where you obsess over these things, you have enough self-worth to say, that's what they think, and that is what, their opinion is. But this is also what I think, and this is what my opinion is. Or perhaps you gravitate towards people who are like-minded when it comes to what you think. Or let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 10th house, so looking at you Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Risings. It means that the Sun is transiting your 4th house and the North Node and the South Node are transiting your 7th and 1st houses. Perhaps during this period you consider your individuality when it comes to your profession, when it comes to your purpose. So looking at the type of profession you would like to pursue, or looking at what you feel called to do, or looking at what it is that you are doing right now, what profession you're in right now. But maybe these things, they clash with a significant other's views. They clash with your close friends' opinions. But rather than growing resentful or bitter towards these people, you feel content and you feel satisfied with your path. Maybe you move towards people who understand your path better. Or maybe you can accept each other's differences. Or let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 6th house, so looking at you Pisces, Sun, Moon and Risings. It means that the Sun is transiting your 12th house and then the North Node and the South Node are transiting your 3rd and 9th houses. Perhaps during this period you consider your individuality when it comes to your working life, when it comes to your daily routines. So looking at the occupation that you have or looking at how you choose to manage your day. But maybe these things, they clash with your peers' opinions or with your siblings' opinions or with your cousins. But rather than being fearful, where you feel all this inner fear and tension, you have enough self-worth to continue working at what you enjoy. You can see that others are going to have an opinion no matter what you do. Now, the third thing that you need to know about this full moon in Leo is that the Sun in Aquarius will quintile Uranus and Taurus during it. Not to mention, Uranus and Taurus will trine Mars conjunct Venus and Capricorn during it as well. Now, the fascinating thing about Mars and Venus in Capricorn is that they will conjunct as they create a same degree conjunction together. This degree is 16. And so with their trine to Uranus in Taurus, this is a great time to get thinking about what you want to create tangibly in the world. So looking at what materials you would like to accumulate as well as what your career goals are. However, with that being said, 16 makes the number 7. And then Uranus and Taurus, it will be at 11 degrees. And the thing about both of these numbers, so 7 and 11, is that they can signify spirituality. These numbers are about going deeper rather than getting caught up in superficial material matters. And then also remember that the moon and the sun will be 27 degrees during this full moon, like I said, so creating the number 9, another highly spiritual and introspective number. Therefore, during this full moon, yes, it's a good time to consider things like finances and resources and materials and so on. These things are very much important, okay? But at the same time, perhaps it's also good to question our intentions when it comes to these things. So when you purchase a particular item, who is it for? Is it for you, or is it to grab the attention of someone else? Or when you save for a product over a long period of time, are you considering your individuality? Or is this to be a part of the crowd? Now, this isn't a matter of one way being right or wrong, okay? It's simply about challenging your mind. This is the whole point I'm trying to get to, is about looking at your intentions. After all, the sign of Aquarius is very much about thinking beyond the basic, beyond what is normal. The sign of Aquarius is very much about challenging your mind, challenging your thoughts, challenging your ideas. And then Leo is the sign that gets us considering our ego, our individuality. As I'm trying to say here, Leo is about how we validate ourselves. So, to get into some examples, let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 3rd house. So looking at you Gemini, sun, moon and risings. It means that the sun is transiting your 9th, Uranus is transiting your 12th, and Venus and Mars are transiting your 8th. Perhaps during this period, you challenge your mind when it comes to joint resources that you share with your significant other, or when it comes to any debts you owe. Perhaps you seek further information from an advisor, or perhaps you specifically ask a teacher for advice. But as you question others, you consider your individuality, all right? So what do you actually think as well? You trust your intuition. Then again, perhaps you take some time to yourself to reestablish financial and material matters. You basically retreat for a while and you do your own research. Or let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 11th house, so looking at you Libra, sun, moon and risings. It means that the sun is transiting your 5th, Uranus is transiting your 8th, and Venus and Mars are transiting your 4th. Perhaps during this period, you challenge your mind when it comes to family related matters or when it comes to your living situation. Perhaps you ask for some insight from your children, or you consider your children throughout the process, or maybe you look into a creative way of doing things. But as you find out more, you consider your individuality. You consider how you stand out from the crowd, and you also consider the finances and materials that you share with others. Now, the 4th thing that you need to know about this full moon in Leo is that Mercury in Aquarius will conjunct Pluto in Capricorn during it. Therefore, as we are shining a light on our self-expression and our ego, etc., the things that I was talking about at the very beginning, as we are considering the me, the I, also think about the groundbreaking changes that can be made by challenging your thoughts and by challenging your ideas. Think about the transformational process that can come about from you deciding to do your own thing without having to conform to what everybody else is doing. Consider how liberating that can be, how freeing that can be for your mind and for yourself. Perhaps during this full moon then, as you release and shed old skin, you step into a new version of yourself. You destroy outdated narratives that tie you down and leave you feeling repressed. You evolve basically. And as you evolve, perhaps this newer version of yourself, it sticks. Whatever mistakes you kept repeating in the past, they're no longer being repeated. So let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 7th house, so looking at you Aquarius, sun, moon and risings. It means that the sun and Mercury are transiting your 1st house, and then Pluto is transiting your 12th. Perhaps during this period, you make major breakthroughs when it comes to your general outlook on life, when it comes to your life path. Unconscious patterns that kept you in a cycle, they're being destroyed. And through such a transition, you see the world differently, you see yourself differently, and you also approach your one-on-one relationships in a whole new way as well. Perhaps by validating yourself within your relationships, you no longer feel like you're a slave to outdated thoughts that tell you that you're not good enough. Or let's say this full moon is taking place in your 5th house. So looking at your Aries sun, moon and risings. It means that the sun and Mercury are transiting your 11th house, and then Pluto is transiting your 10th house. Perhaps during this period, you make major breakthroughs when it comes to your teams, networks, friendship circles, and allies. When it comes to the community that you're a part of, restrictive and rigid views towards your purpose, they are destroyed. Likewise, perhaps views that led to fear and harsh criticism, these things are evolved in some way, they change. And through such transitions, you feel a different type of connection with others. You can relate to like-minded people better. Perhaps you feel part of something, and as you do, you feel confident and self-assured, and you validate your individuality. And the 5th and final thing that you need to know about this full moon in Leo is that the moon will be void, of course, just 10 minutes after it takes place. Now, the moon will be void, of course, for almost 5 hours until it eventually moves into Virgo. And so during this time, you might feel a bit stagnant. You might feel somewhat directionless, sort of like, what now? This can be a good time actually to slow down a little bit if you can. That's if you can. I understand we can all have very busy schedules, but if you can, make sure to check in with yourself, okay? Just check in with yourself in whatever way suits you best. So with that being said, let's say that this full moon is taking place in your 1st house. So looking at you, Leo, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps you can take some time to yourself after this full moon or during the day of this full moon, especially given that you might feel it more powerfully than most. It might take a lot out of you actually. Or maybe you can take time to reflect on your next move, right? Maybe you won't feel a need to rush. You want to just kind of go inward and see how you're feeling first. Or maybe you'll feel somewhat unsure of your next step, but eventually, the ideas will come and you'll be on your way. Or let's say this full moon in Leo is taking place in your 9th house. So looking at you, Sagittarius, sun, moon and risings. Perhaps you contemplate any travel plans you have, or you take time to think about the next big move in your life. Or perhaps after this full moon hits, you feel a bit directionless, a bit stagnant when it comes to further training, when it comes to learning. But instead of pushing or rushing, you just, you take your time. You go inward, then eventually you'll know what to do next. You'll feel that eagerness once again. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video all about the 5 things that you need to know about this full moon in Leo taking place on the 16th of February 2022. Now, again, I want to know what are some other things that you think others need to know about this full moon. Please let us know in the comment section down below. And I also feel the need to say thank you so much if you did get through this video. Thank you for your patience, because I know that I'm really not 100% in this video. So yeah, thank you so much for your patience. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, make sure that you click that subscribe button. And also, if you did like this video, make sure that you give this video a like today. And I will be back with another video, hopefully feeling better very, very soon. Bye.